Yes, yes, this
There's that lady. Cool.
newfangled angle. It's a lot of things for me to get used to, having been dead as long as I have, and coming back and zooming and tweeting and queefing and all these new apps and all this stuff. It's been a process, but I'm
You
having fun.
you didn't queef before?
Uh, well, I mean, not as like a verb that you would use to describe
I see.
a short thought that people have. You know,
I
whatever
understand.
the new app is, or whatever. Whatever. I'm gonna. Do you mind if I have a beer? This is a
Not at all.
Mother Earth Brew Company. It's a vanilla cream ale creamsicle. I'm gonna
That sounds lovely.
imbibe. So how are you, man? What's going on?
I'm not too bad. I guess I have to start this interview, this chat with the obvious question is, well, we're gonna get to the band eventually, but I want you're back, Mr. President.
Hi, I'm back.
How?
Well, there was some necromancing, these type of things, but really, we've got email on the other side, and it's slow, but it works. And I got an email from Vladdy P from Nuclear Power Trio, and there was apparently Robert Downey Jr. was managing the band, and there was some discrepancies, and Vladdy said something along the lines of he was acting sus, and I would assume that's shorthand for suspicious or
Sure.
suspect. And he just said he'd do little too late, and that they wanted somebody honest, and so I figured, he asked what I'd been doing, and I said, just we're still dead, and if I would like to come back, reincarnate, and manage PR for the band, tour manage, take care of the rider, and things like that. So I said yes. I said, I can always go back to being dead. Go to a theater again, and
I mean, I had a rather insensitive question about your return. Did you ever get a chance to finish Our American Cousin?
I did not. No,
Are you worried about doing that at some point, or
I was thinking about it, but I guess we'll see how if we can avoid nuclear holocaust,
sure?
in the next few years, then maybe I'll get around to it. I've always had a tendency to whistle down my sadness, and I've had 157 years being dead to work that out. And humor is my therapy. So coming back into a position with this band is working pretty well, and I think it'll be my muse to be able to finish my aforementioned works.
Good, good. Um, so in the press release, which I'm assuming you wrote for the band, Kimmy mentioned
Yes.
in a quote about the record and the band that Donnie and Vladdy P spent some nights in Miami reinvigorating whatever the word is their musical relationship. Were you with them on those nights?
Yes, yes, I was down there. I hadn't fully taken the role on of managing the band, but it was sort of a transitionary period. Robert was at the show for the Netflix and Chill show, and he did a good job that night. But so I was on the guest list, and there was it was a little tense. What with Donnie and Vladdy and Kimmy had a little bit of a tiff. Apparently, during the last album, they went out to film a concert or a music video or the like on Mars, and Donnie left Vladdy and Kimmy on Mars, so they were quite vexed by that, and were thinking about breaking off into a side project. And Donnie worked his way back into the good graces on a trip down in Miami there, and they fell in love with the synthwave scene. I mean, there was always a strong affinity for Miami Sound Machine and Gloria Estefan and Miami Vice. Even on the last record, you could hear on "Grab 'Em" by the Pyongyang, there was a little synth line running in the back there. So there is a little alluding, some foreshadowing into the. Oh fuck, my phone is going off. I don't know how to turn the ringers off. It's a new thing for me. Sorry about that.
No worries.
But yeah, so there was like inklings that this would be something that would come about, and they there was someone named Molly hanging out with them down there, and so there was a lot of love going around. Some show them massages and things like that, and they were able to rekindle their love of music and to use it as a vessel to bring about change in the world, positive change in the world. You know, I mean, we've the politics are shit. They always have been. You know, and music is something that you can very clearly see brings people together. You don't even have to speak the same language. I mean, music is a language in and of itself, and so it was great to be a party to all that.
And was Donnie kind of on the outs because he was no longer in power? Like, is that sort of the why he got the rough end of this relationship? I guess.
No, I think it was more along the lines of the Mars thing. You know,
Ah,
he can tend to be a little bit precocious, maybe a little, you know, his self interest can be a little bit higher than others at sometimes. Um, and so, you know, leaving the guys on Mars was a pretty big thing. I mean, there's not a lot of Ubers that go out that way. And so he did say, to his defense, though, that in the original Craigslist ad, uh, for when looking for band members, that they were required to have their own transportation.
ah,
And so,
that'll make or break a band.
to his defense, that you know they were supposed to be able to get around. It's just Mars is a bit of an exception, they thought, and so they were a little guffed about it, if you will.
Sure. I have a question about you again. So like hearing your voice for the first time is kind of amazing to me because I in my lifetime haven't heard your voice, and I don't know anyone who
I
has.
spoke to you in your dreams, my son.
I was worried that might have been you.
It was not those dreams.
Oh, that was okay.
We can see them all, so you know.
How
But
did you feel about Daniel Day Lewis's portrayal of you? Because his vocal impersonation was not this.
not at all. Matter of fact, when I reincarnated here, I've gone through a few different varieties. Like at first, it was just like this high pitched whistle.
Hmm.
I couldn't get any sound to come out, and so I started watching movies to see if I could remind myself of what my own voice sounded like. And I mean, for some reason, it kept jumping to Braveheart. And so I thought I was Scottish for a while, and then it sort of had like a Bill Clinton thing going on. Yeah, almost every day I wake up and it's different. You know, it's I'm refining my own voice is actually a book that I'm going to be putting out.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, as soon as I can recollect what happened after my 7th birthday, and I woke up with no arms or legs, and it was very difficult to reacquire the arms and legs. We didn't have the medical technology back then, but a man was able to put together a collection of we used to call it apostolate rubber, and he was able to fabricate some new arms and legs for me to use. So after that, I figured I'll let the voice be what the voice will be.
Sure.
Sure.
I look forward to this book because that the arms and legs thing isn't really a story you hear much about you. Um, but
It's
I
true.
imagine you're honest Abe. Do you prefer Abe or Abraham?
You know, it's funny when I was growing up, I always I hated the nickname Abe. Nobody that knew me would call me Abe to my face. But 157 years being dead, you can you learn to let things go. You know, I spent some time in the I went through all the bardos of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. That shit was crazy. I mean, the third bardo, um, where basically I was looking for a new womb to re-enter the planet on, because I wasn't listening to uh, uh, the Buddha body that was telling me that I was one with all the universe, and that I could escape the cycle of death and rebirth if I'd only acknowledged that. But they've got all these wicked fucking demons that come out and they're, ripping your guts out and eating your guts, and it's just brutal. It's just brutal, man. So, yeah, but it's a good time, man. I highly recommend dying.
One day, maybe when I'm older. But I mean, I can kind of relate to at least the Abe Abraham thing because maybe when I'm dead, I'll get used to people calling me Dan, but I don't like it now.
You don't go Dan, yeah.
Nah, I'm not
Daniel.
a Dan. I'm Dan. I'll make people work for it.
Did you like the Daniel Day Lewis portrayal of myself?
I thought it was interesting. I don't believe I actually finished the film.
Ah,
I think I
yes.
started it, got the gist of it, and then,
You know what happens though.
yeah, of course.
We
You come
passed it. We passed it.
yes. So I want to come back to the band a bit because I feel like
Yes.
that's ultimately what we're supposed to be doing here, but it's just so fascinating talking to you. So you may or may not know some of these answers, but like the record has horns and some Latin elements and a lot more like influences than I'm expecting for this trio of guys who seem to not be open to other ideas. So like, where do these less straight ahead rock sort of sounds come from for the trio? Or
Sure, yeah. There's a lot of openness in this particular incarnation of these three men. As I've mentioned in some of my other talks, if you're familiar with the many worlds theory of quantum mechanics and quantum physics, multiverses, if you will, that every choice that we all have as observers collapses the wave function into a particular reality. It collapses the wave function into a particle. And thus, every choice that we make splits the universe off into a different universe, and all realities are happening simultaneously. And in this particular incarnation of reality, these three men have collectively made the choice that peace is the answer, and the best way to bring about peace is through music, particularly instrumental music, because the message can't be lost. It's a universal message, and with that, these three are the most open versions of themselves they've ever been, and there's none of this in the studio. There's none of this. That's too heavy, or that's too pretty, or that's too funky, or anything like that. The boys just do whatever is the most fun, and that's a freedom that they've not been able to experience, and certainly not in the political avenues. But they've been able to really explore all sides of themselves creatively, and thus some you can have samba, you can have a Debussy part, you can have rasguiado guitar, you can have double thumb, you can have horn sections and synth and real harp and anything you want. There's no rules. It's just have fun and spread the message of peace. And so I think it's quite a freeing experience for the boys.
Very cool. And Dave Otero is the guy known for the back of his head and working with a Legion amongst
Yes,
other bands.
you're
Uh,
familiar with the back of his head.
I'm
Yes,
very well,
yes.
very well familiar with that.
Beautiful line work.
I'm hopeful to get some of that line work when when I'm older, maybe before I'm dead, but somewhere in there.
Let's see the back of your head now.
Let's work this out. This is gonna be great for
Let's check
audio.
this out.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, I could see working behind you in a studio very easily. Yes.
I hope to one day. Are you musical yourself?
Yes, I do play bass myself. I can play some shitty Nirvana riffs on guitar, and maybe hold a quarter beat on the drum kit. Uh, I may even, hop on stage with the boys when we bring this to the masses in a live format. Dave Otero would be the first to tell you that this is the furthest thing from a trio that you can be. There's literally 750 plus tracks on that record, on that project in Cubase he uses, and so three piece. It's much more than that. So I may be required to step on stage. Hopefully we can have some of the guests that were forced to play on the record. Maybe we can force them to come out on tour as well. And yeah, so it's one of those things where it's difficult to find someone who can take all those different elements. There's so much music going on. There's so many different phrasing, so many different sub layers, and be able to mix it all in a way where you can hear everything. Everything sits in its place, and so give a lot of credit to the back of Otero's head and the front of his head as well.
And what made the guys pick him in particular? Were they just a fan of his other work or just the head?
Yes, Donnie was quoted as saying, frankly, a lot of power trio recordings are pathetic. They're weak sounding, and listen to some cattle decapitation and some archspire and perhaps some even the Tetrock stuff where you can hear he's got such a range of being able to bring out the intricacies of the technicality in the riffs, especially 8-string stuff where you're tuned down to E down there, and he just is, quite frankly, one of the most professional uh, engineers in the genre and producers in the genre. He's got an amazing ear, and he 99 out of 100 times they said that when he makes a suggestion for something, everybody's like, yeah, yeah, exactly. Even Donnie and Vladdy and Kimmy, who are known to be, relatively difficult people to work with, they want things their way, and he's able to make suggestions that they all undeniably think make the songs better.
That should be on his CV, just that he's able to coach those guys.
Exactly. Yes, we do have some footage of in the studio. I hope we can get edited in time, man. But Buzzard's guts, man, it's difficult to put all this shit together. Brain is feeling. I've only been managing the band for the last, I don't know, 3 months, and my brain is already husked out, as I like to say. I'm feeling plain as a pike staff.
Sure. You alluded to some of the guests on this. We've got Chris from In Flames and Megadeth, and Bill Ellis, Scar Symmetry, a lot of others. Who did these guys have any reservations with working with arguably like dictators and like politically maligned figures?
Uh, some of them had to be coerced. There may have been some black bags involved in vans in the middle of the night, but I think they found it to be quite an amenable situation once mainly once they heard the music. At first the personalities are quite off-putting, but they ended up hearing the songs that we had thought in mind for them to play each individually, and they were specifically chosen to play on each song because of their specific style. And once they heard the songs, I think they opened up quite a bit to the idea.
It's very cool. Um, has there been any sort of reaction from specifically just thinking locally to me, like MAGA groups about the band, or
I've not seen any. There's not been a lot of it. I think that they are hard to reach. Um, there's definitely folks been on either side thinking that it's uh, pro one way politically or pro another way politically, and it's quite the opposite. It's apolitical. The choice was made to choose instrumental music so that there was no voicing. Both realized that it's when you come to realize that all politics are essentially pro wrestling.
yeah,
Yeah, they're all on the same team. They're all benefiting a small group of people up at the top. It's all bullshit, and so this is sort of a anathema to that. Where basically the boys are saying, screw politics, let's play music.
I mean, professional wrestling. You have a history of being a wrestler yourself. Donnie's in the WWE Hall of Fame, I believe.
That's
Uh,
right.
who are your guys now, or do you have any guys now?
I was always a big fan of the Undertaker. Always. I think I wish he would come out of retirement for one last hurrah. But Undertaker was great. Macho Man was a huge. We were actually friends on the other side.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, love Macho Man. Have you heard his hip hop record?
I have heard parts of his hip hop record. Yes, the
I
2 minutes
love,
of
I
late night
love,
folks
I
covered.
love that record.
You
Great.
love that record.
I really do. I think it's incredible. I mean, it's better than Hulk Hogan's song for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely. The Be a Man Hulk song. Classic.
Yes.
I think they just did a vinyl re-release of it, and I missed out on it. But
No
I'll
way.
track it. Yeah,
Oh, I've got to get that. That's great.
you probably have connections to get record store day exclusive. So yeah, work your political powers.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
So you've kind of touched on this a little bit, but you mentioned potentially touring the band. Is something with like maybe Legion Havoc, Cephalic Carnage, something in the works, or because I've just there are bands that come to mind for some reason, but any other package would be neat.
I've never heard of those other bands, but there's a lot of music that's come out since I've been dead. There's probably the logistics of putting it all together and having the band go out on tour and being able to present it in a way that is congruent with the grandiosity of the characters. That's the difficult part. It can't just be a 3-piece. It's got to be a much larger production. Whether that's going to be having Secret Service play the additional parts or that kind of thing. And so logistically, I don't see the band particularly, going and doing 2 out of 4 on a 6-week bill, grinding out in a van in the States. I think more likely it'll be festival appearances to start, at least. Something where it's 30, 45 minutes. Looking for offers above 50,000 per show is where we're starting at. So
Hell of a way to start.
so we've had some offers, and they're getting up there, but nothing quite yet to the point. I think that's when the band will go, is when I can look at the offer and say this financially makes sense to do, and it can be done in such a way as to be the vision that the 3 world leaders would like to project.
Of course. And I imagine if they were to do a full tour, like even a festival, performing in the suits would be very difficult for them, because like
the suits are very hot.
Yes,
very hot, and just the nature of the size of these 3 men's heads.
Yeah,
it makes it difficult to see the fretboard. Pretty much 12 through 24, from what I've heard, is almost invisible. And so with the technicality of the music, they've got to work out something with having such large heads.
Mm-hmm. Wonder how Daft Punk do it. I mean, it's mostly just buttons and stuff, but they probably got a system, right?
I think they just press space bar.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then it's like mostly Facebook or something that they're doing when they're up there. Someone said that you take a small video of them playing and they saw Facebook in the reflection of the helmet. That it was just simply spacebar. I mean, great music. I love Daft Punk, but yeah, it's a little different than having to play the strings.
Perhaps. Well, I kind of have to ask this question. What happened to, let's just call him Mike Tyson?
Tyson, yes. Well, Tyson went to work with Drake shortly after. They had great relations amongst the band. That was the initial signing. Happened as a result of that video. There was a YouTube video that was put out, that first track, which ended up becoming the Fusion Collusion. And Tyson did a great job, but he left the band to go work with Drake. And so there was even a position change. Donnie switched from bass over to guitar, and that opened up the role for a bass player to come in. Kimmy moved to drums, and then they worked it out with Vladdy P to come and join the band and play bass. So
it's impressive how multi-talented all these guys are.
That's right. It's pretty, when you think about it, it's got a lot of you need a lot of tenacity, you need a lot of gregariousness, and for an instrumental band, you could say that all 3 are quite loquacious in their daily lives, which is it's so fitting that they chose to do instrumental music, where they let their musical phrasing take precedent over their traditional wordiness about the world.
Of course. All right, well, Mr. President, thank you for coming on the program. I love the new record. I wish you could tell the guys for me. I've listened to it many times since getting to hear it, and like, I don't think the world's ready for this. And is there anything you could tell the world to get them ready, I guess?
I would say, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite track, and why?
I am a bass nerd. So the slap bass throughout is really doing it for me.
Awesome.
And then pardon my having to look at the track. I know what it's called. It has bass in the name.
Critical Bass Theory.
That's the one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite on there.
Yeah, we kind of thought that one. That's interesting because primarily the songs form with Donnie playing them on a nylon. That particular song is one of the first songs that was built around a bass part first. And so that ended up being funny because it has this kind of strong drive, and people really enjoy slap bass, and unfortunately, Paul Rudd has sequestered primarily the entire well, I would say worldwide population into slapper the bass man.
I'm a bass player myself. I feel like he's ruined my life.
I really wish we could. I wish we could go back and stop that because it's just horrible. But it's the guys will be elated to hear that you enjoy the record. A lot of work went into this record, and it's one of those things where people are. I suppose we designed it so that if you just listen to it once through, or you know, on the surface level, you watch the videos, it's entertaining and it's fun. But if you go back through, there's layers and layers and layers,
Absolutely.
musically, conceptually, in the videos. There's Easter eggs for days. You know, the story of the Jesus and the bunny putting chocolate eggs, or whatever that analogy went. I don't know how the bunny got tied to the resurrection of Christ, but so we appreciate when people take the time to dig into the deeper layers and understand the complexity that went into putting it all together, because it was a grandiose effort. I mean, it was just the most work ever, and so to hear that people are enjoying it is part of that cycle of making it worthwhile. So we really appreciate you taking the time to have us on the show and talk with us about it. And thanks for enjoying the record. You know,
Yeah.
we hope it brings peace and joy to people. And that's the point, you know, is that we all have the choice to choose peace, to choose love, to love one another. And what better to do it to than to listen to these songs?
And hopefully we could just play this, and this will be the We Are the World that will actually work.
Exactly. We're
Take that one.
hoping so. We're hoping so.
Alrighty. Well, thank you. I'm gonna kill these recordings.
All right.
How the hell?